Cybernation Uncensored.
Hello! Welcome back, my friends, my choombas. Please let me know how everything sounds. We got to check audio. I'm gonna constantly do this every time I stream. Yay, sounds good. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition, Friday edition of Power Word Talk, where we will have introspective discussions with phenomenal writers, artists, cosplayers, creators to discuss their personal journey and their amazing work that leaves an impact on our community as a whole. I am your host, Utahime, and before we chat with our beautiful guest, today. I'm going to do my shout outs as per usual. I am the community manager here at Cybernation Uncensored, and we have a very wonderful community that I would love for you guys to join and be a part of. We have a really active Discord, so please be sure to join us there. We have a lot of amazing content weekly that our team works really hard on. A lot of amazing GMs. We have how-to instructional videos if you want to learn how to play Cyberpunk and other games. And so please be sure to follow us on all of these social medias. We have the YouTube, our Twitch, our podcast, and we really appreciate any love and support. So be sure to follow, subscribe, comment, rate, do the things, because basically we need that from you guys because that's what gets us going and keeps us going. So thank you for that. And also, too, we got to shout out our amazing sponsors like Fantasy Grounds that provides a lot of our virtual tabletop needs for our different games, Sirenscape for the awesome music and sound effects for a lot of our games on our channel, and we have our full list of sponsors, which let me go ahead and put that into chat right now so then you guys can check them out and show them some love. But also, last but not least, we have to thank our Patreon subscribers for your amazing support to help us continue to bring the content you see on a weekly basis. I'll be keeping an eye on chat to make sure that if you guys have any questions that you want to ask our lovely guest, that I also too try to include those as well and sprinkle those into the discussion. But for now, let's get into it. Let's dive into it. Today, we have my fabulous friend with us. It is an absolute honor that she took time out of her busy schedule to be here. She is a dear friend of mine. We've had a chance to play on various streams together and even some live games as well. She's been a huge inspiration to me on my journey, and I've talked to many people who have said the exact same thing. So for those who may not know, even though if you don't know, now you know. Do you mind telling the viewers today who you are, your pronouns, and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi, I am Cynthia Marie. My pronouns are she, her. I am a dancer, cosplayer, ttrpg enthusiast, writer sometimes, just all around nerd girl.
Yes, I mean that is also too why we are good friends because we also discovered we did a lot of the same things too. I
Yep.
love it. Yes, I want to because of the fact that you do so many different things. You are so multi-talented. We got to go back to the beginning. Like
Way back.
yeah, like I mean, you've been doing this for a while as far as just being involved in the arts, like ever since you were a little girl. So I really want to like hear more about that to get to this point where you are now.
Yeah. So I started dancing when I was 2 years old. I was a performer on stage and doing ballet and tap like one does at 2 years old. Um, y'all got to remember my birthday is in the later part of the year. So my birthday's in December. So while everybody else was already in their like threes, like I was always like in the end side. So I started earlier than maybe most people would. So anyways, yeah, I started at 2 years old dancing, and I just kind of just stuck with it like pretty much throughout my entire life. I went to arts high school in downtown LA. I don't know if you guys ever heard of a TV show called Fame.
Yes, heck yeah.
So I went to the LA version of Fame. So it's an arts high school. It was on the Cal State LA campus. So I was earning college credit at the same time of dancing.
Amazing.
It was so incredible. It was the best experience ever for someone who was in high school. And don't I mean I had my times too of failure and terribleness of high school because it's high school. But
The struggle's real in high school.
the struggle's real in high, especially when you're in an art school. Like I feel like the drama like is like amplified
Yeah.
like 20-fold because like
It's like
if you're not like
you literally are living out Fame, where there's going to be
yeah
the drama on the side and like who
yeah
gets cast for what.
yeah who gets what role and like oh my god like if you're a popular one you're a triple threat like meaning that you can do all three. I was
Which you
one.
are. Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, which you are.
I can't sing, but somehow the musical theater group accepted me, and in my senior year, I did a. I'm not going to say what musical it was because it's a very bad musical. It is very racial musical, but we'll leave it at that.
Okay. We
Um,
won't touch on that.
we won't touch
It
on that
happened.
because it happened. It was early 2000s, early 90s kind of time.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Right.
We all know. So anyways, so we did that play, had a whole bunch of fun. Ended up graduating, and when I graduated high school, I was like, I'm done. I'm not dancing. I don't want to do this anymore. Like this is just too much.
That blows
At
my
4 years, yeah, 4 years, I'm over it. Like I just want to go to college. So I went to community college, got my AA in social science because I really love psychology, and stuff, and social sociology,
Mm-hmm.
just a bunch of social stuff. And then my mom was like, "Yo, so you're gonna get your degree, right? You're gonna go get your bachelor's, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, where are you gonna go?" And I was like, "Well, I guess I'll go to Cal Arts." And she was like, "Okay, like go ahead and apply. And you sure? Because it's really expensive at the time. It was $90,000 to go,
Ooh, yes.
or sorry, 30,000. It turned my whole. I was there for 3 years, so it was $90,000
Like
of student
intro,
loans.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it was still a lot of money though,
That
especially
is.
like at that time. And the economic bust, we had no idea what was going to happen at the time.
Mhm.
It happened a year before I ended up graduating from Cal Arts, but I digress. Getting into Cal Arts was funny because my mom was like, "Are you going to apply for any other school?" And I was like, "No." "Why?" And she was like, because what if you don't get in?" I was like, "What do you mean?" "I'm gonna get in." And she was like, "Okay." Overconfident. And I was like, "No, I just
No.
I'm
You know
gonna
your
get in.
abilities.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna get in." And sure enough, I got the letter and I got in, and I was like, "Okay, cool. I got into Cal Arts. Like that was easy." I hear later on from many people who have tried to get into Cal Arts and say it was one of the hardest schools to get in, and I'm like,
It is.
"Really?" Like
It is. I had
oh,
considered, it was funny, it was one of the schools that I thought about. And then, there's certain, you think about all the art schools and then you're
yeah.
like, but how much does it cost? It was mainly like I was like, okay, it's the cost that did it, but a lot of people who did they didn't get in right away, or like they
Yeah.
had to do it multiple times.
Oh, my TV started playing again. I
Oh,
was like, "Who's talking in the background right now?"
they're listening. They're listening to the conversation.
Apparently, I'm gonna miss the ending of the School of Good and Evil because it started to play. I think my dog was like, "I'm over it. I'm just gonna hit play." So whatever. There we go. There we have it. Yay! So if you guys hear talking in the background, I apologize. My dog turned the TV back on.
It's like,
Anywho,
let's watch.
right? Where was I? Cal Arts.
Cal
Yeah.
Arts.
So
How
I went,
you got
I went
it
to Cal Arts.
first
Yeah.
time?
First try. Yeah. I wasn't gonna say it's easy. It was a dance audition. Dance
Mhm.
auditions are exhausting and they're tiring and they're grueling. I made it through. I graduated in 3 years of Cal Arts. So like I said, I had a lot of student loans, $90,000 to be exact. Yeah. Yeah, still paying it to this day. And then the economic bust happened, and it made me absolutely realize that dance was not feasible to pay back those student loans. I was absolutely horrified at the first payments that I ever got from Sally Mae. Um, and then on the salary that I was working at Verizon Wireless at the time. So
Oh
the
yeah.
salary that I was making versus how much Sally Mae was like, "Hey, yo, you got to like pay out." I was like, "Huh?"
I need
Yeah.
to eat. I need to live.
Right? and I was still living in my parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
So I got my parents helped me. I got a job in real estate office. I was an admin for a little bit of time. And that's kind of when I was really, really heavily cosplaying was when I was an admin in real estate.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that was fun. I did a lot of cosplay during that time. Most notably, people might know
Oh,
a
let me
little.
let me switch over actually because I
Okay,
have the
switch
photo.
over.
I have the photos, so then we can take a look
Awesome, awesome.
here.
So talk about
We
my
got some of
first
the dance
cosplay.
stuff right now on the
Oh,
screen, showing
oh,
some of your insane ability here.
yeah. I used to
Just
be
the
flexible.
technique.
Yeah.
And we got. I had to add the Miss Scarlet. We're going to talk about that whole situation because you
Yes.
killed it. That was
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah. So okay, so my dance ability.
Yes.
I'm classically trained in ballet and a bunch of different techniques of ballet. I am trained in different techniques of modern dance, including Horton.
Yes.
Is probably one of my favorite to
It
do.
was one of my favorites too.
It's amazing. If people don't know what Horton is, you guys could, if you watch Alvin Ailey, Alvin Ailey does a lot. Seriously now, um,
So here's some of the cosplay we got. We got our amazing
yeah,
yes. I
yeah.
love your
So
DC just like dedication, but
I
yeah, I
have
love that.
mad DC love until they like are ruining everything with all the movies. Like,
I'm like,
it
that's a
makes me so
conversation for another
sad.
time.
I know. It makes me so
Uh,
sad. But my girl Wonder Woman, like I absolutely loved her. But I started with Huntress, in a group called Gotham Public Works.
yes.
I think we were one of the first cosplay crews on the scene way back when. It's
Heck
actually
yeah.
when I met all of the people who spawned the future, like the last decade that I've been working and doing things, is because of that group. So I met Tara Strand, who is a very accomplished and amazing actress. She got me into mime work, so I've learned how to do mime work. I was in a mime show for a little bit. I met another person, Reagan Remy, who was responsible for introducing me to Sean Strider, and that's how I got into Labyrinth of Jurors because she
Yes.
brought me as one of her
And
background
if you saw, I
dancers.
think everybody in the chat, if you saw the one photo where everyone's arms was like were kind of raised and they were seeming to emote so much emotion, that was taken from one of the Labyrinth performances, by the way. That
Yeah,
black and white photo.
yeah. And then I also met Taliesin Jaffe,
Yeah.
because we cosplayed together in the same group. And he was responsible for getting me into, he wanted to get me into voice acting and stuff like that, but he was the one who made me feel really, really comfortable and confident coming into the ttrpg community a little bit later on in my career. We talk about that later. So yeah, so all of these people that I had met in my first cosplay group are basically responsible for me coming out of the nerd closet and being like, oh, it's okay to be a nerd now. Great.
I know. No, it really does take that like finding your peoples because that was for me. I didn't I kept all of that in, and it's something that I
Yeah.
talked about with Rob when we were chatting this past weekend, and I was saying how like I just didn't feel comfortable. Like say it's like almost like not safe to kind of be like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm a nerd and I'm proud. Like you
Yeah,
would be
you couldn't
laughed
say that. Yeah, I
laughed
couldn't
out
say
of the
that.
door. You
Yeah,
know.
especially being a Latina, like coming
Oh
from a
yeah.
Puerto Rican background, like everybody was like, "Oh, I'm so cool, I'm hot, like I'm
Hmm.
seductive, like I'm good." I'm like, I was not that person. I got like pushed into that role often. But I was always the off the wall, the one that was dancing in the corner in her own like daydream thoughts, and
Hmm.
everyone just thought I was weird. Like I literally like in grammar school would do pirouettes or PKs across the room. They would turn in my paper. Oh my god, like the supermarket and when they opened Home Depot for the first
Oh,
time, the
forget
big
it.
aisles,
Those
I was
aisles
like,
are huge.
Jete! I'm gonna jump everywhere and turn everywhere. And my parents were
Crochet
like,
across
stop.
the
Yes. My parents
aisle
were like, please stop.
15. You know, they're like, who? I saw somebody's head in the air. What is going on?
Yeah, my parents are like, please stop, you're embarrassing us. And I'm like, okay,
Now, how did
that's
this end up
fine.
transitioning to the tabletop space? Because we talked about how cosplay,
Yeah,
you got really involved with that, and we saw some of the awesome cosplays that you've done, and
yeah.
group cosplays too. But yeah, I want to know a little bit about that transition into that
Okay.
space because I mean, it seems like it all blends together as it
It
normally
does.
does.
It does. It all kind of like, yeah. So I started a podcast called Life Action Roleplay with my friend Ryan Omega.
Yes. And if you guys haven't seen it, please, please, please be sure to check them out. It's an awesome show, and you guys
Thank
still
you.
do shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
periodically. We gotta talk
Hmm.
about coming back. Like, it's been
Yeah.
a minute. So I was doing a podcast and I realized that if I was going to do the podcast, I actually had a LARP. Because
Yes.
I was going to talk about it.
Now let's talk about real quick, because that was also too on my list of questions for you, because I know that people, like even myself, what exactly is LARP? Like I've seen it, but it's like
Yeah.
kind of having understanding,
Yeah.
so then we know what you're referring to.
Yeah, so the way I like to talk about it, so it's live action role play.
Okay.
So the way I think about it is the part about cosplay that we love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Embodying the characters. And then the part about tabletop role playing where you act as the characters and you have these game mechanics are all mashed together in one giant game where you're actually immersively playing your character in the costume and acting and reacting to the experiences that are around you using game mechanics that are created by incredible game designers and incredible staff who pour their love and soul into the game that they're running. I happen to be a staff member for Twin Mask
Yeah.
LARP. It's in SoCal. I've taken a little bit of a break because of life, but yeah, it's a fantasy role playing game. It's set in a rent fair town down south. It's a really cool event. It lasts for 3 days.
Wow.
But if you're not down for like tenting it and like fighting monsters at midnight, there are smaller LARPs. You can do a parlor LARP. You can do so the Twin Mask is a boffer LARP. So you actually have foam weapons and you're actually, I hate to say it like this, but this is how I describe it to people. You get to hit people willingly with a foam sword.
Like I think of the sock and boppers, like the
yeah, like you're willingly jumping into fights with people and like it's fun. Like so as somebody who like loves martial arts but is totally afraid to take a punch and like get hurt, like this is perfect
That's
for
like
me.
the safe way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But then there's also parlor LARPs, and that's kind of where I got my start in LARPing in general. I did vampire LARP. Surprise, surprise.
Yes.
And I did it at a local LARP here in California in LA, and we literally played in a park. And what I mean by a park, it's like, you know, those like concrete, like circular, like things that you see in parks. Like we literally played in that
space.
Yeah, so like you just see a bunch of people dressed up, kind of gothically and kind of like weird, like running around and going like, "How do you feel? How are we gonna do this? How are you?"
And then I'm sure the people walking by like, just keep walking.
Yeah, or you see people running around like this, or you see them going like this, or you see like it's crazy. So okay, there's different symbols. So we throw chops. So it's rock paper scissors.
Okay.
So if you're gonna, instead of rolling dice, you're gonna use your stats. And when you if your stat, like if you have to kind of throw chops, you just do rock paper scissors. So ready?
Okay.
Come on, ready? One, 2, 3. See, I'd win. So my power would take over yours, and that's kind of how it works. And it's nice because with parlor LARPs, I've heard back in the day, I never got to do it myself, but you could actually LARP in a club. So that's how they would take care of mechanics. Ooh. Yeah, so if you're playing vampire and you're like at the like cool club, like, and you're like, hey yo, like I'm gonna use my awe on you, and you're like, no, you're not. You're like, okay, let's go. And so we threw our chops, right? So I won. So my awe is activated, and now you have to act all like, ooh. You know, like, but you get to keep it under wraps because there's people who are at the club just enjoying the club and they have no idea that there's a LARP even going on.
Oh wow, okay. So it's kind of like this, like it's a undercover thing, but not. It's like only the people who know.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's how I heard it started.
Like in my head, I'm like, how are you guys doing? Like, are you guys like with like in my head, I'm imagining just like some long piece of clothing, and you're like, let's go.
Like, no, not that cool. No. But
like in my head, I'm like, are you also too just like
being sexy about it?
Yeah, being sexy about how you throw a job.
No, honestly, my first time. Okay, so my very first ever LARP was a vampire LARP in Las Vegas. I was spoiled as hell going to a Vegas one because everybody put in like 110% in their costumes. Like I literally felt like I walked into the actual succubus club. It was incredible. Wow. It was at the Palms Hotel. It was from By Night Studios when Jason Carl was running it. And like their big thing, I just like remember like watching the big like opening talk, and then they're like, you know, say their last line and the freaking roof starts to open. Yeah. the roof opens and like the
Wow.
moon is shining through, and like, oh my god, it was
Like full
so
immersion there.
cool. Yeah, it was
Jeez.
so cool. And I played my first La Sombra.
First. Yeah.
First of many.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I got my love for La Sombra, was there. Yeah.
That's awesome. So then, from those experiences, was it like any of the friends that you had met along the way that kind of got you then to start doing the actual tabletop for like
Yeah,
BDM and
yeah.
everything else?
So Ryan and Kai Norman, we all kind of got involved on a channel that was producing a bunch of different D&D shows. I happened to be on one. It was a fantasy one. It was a good time. It was fun. Got us to do D&D live, and that's where I met a bunch of other people at
Awesome.
D&D live, and got to enjoy all of their shows. And I started to really understand D&D as a community, which is a bunch of like really awesome nerdy people who were like, I never had a safe space to be in, and I was like,
Yeah.
neither have I. Like, holy crap. Like,
We're
okay.
best friends now.
Yeah. So all of a sudden we started like making these incredible connections with people.
Yeah.
And what's fun about Los Angeles is that we've all had different lives before ttrpg, because like
Yeah.
ttrpg is like a kind of a newish community, right? Like it's only been around, I want to say live stream specifically. I want to say it's been around at least
Mhm.
8 years, 7 years, 6 years, somewhere in
For
that
like the
time.
live streaming, and of course,
Yeah,
I mean, for years it's
yeah,
been around as far as like just
of course,
tabletop
yes,
games.
that's
Just
what I mean. Yeah,
to
but
clarify,
the live,
chat, we
yeah,
know.
yeah. No, I know. That's why I wanted, yeah, the live stream portion of
Yes.
it. It was really like when Critical Role like started coming out,
Hmm.
right? Like,
Where it really
um,
just blew up.
yeah, so a lot of the people that I started running into in the TTRPG circles were people that I already like worked with. So like B. Dave
Nice.
Walters, for example,
Yeah.
he was a yeah, I don't know if he wants me to say this, but whatever. He was a bodyguard when I met
Hmm.
him.
I think
His
he
body,
shared that
yeah,
before.
okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a
like the kind
bodyguard.
of like, we all have those jobs that we work
Yeah,
before we start doing other
yeah. So
things.
I was a dance choreographer for Ben Moody, and B Dave was his bodyguard. So that's how we first met. So I was at a like rock concert getting ready to perform, and he's like there, and I was like, "Yo, bro, like you're dope." So we talk, and then Ben was like, "I want to do like a nerdy podcast." So he like brought me on to, I think he called it like the Paradigm or something like that,
Yeah.
and I was like one of the only females that were talking about comic books at the time. So I was like full on DC. I was like fighting people and being like, I know this and this, and like, let's go. And then working through Labyrinth, I was a director and choreographer for a better part of 10 years on that show. And that's kind of where I met Alex Ward, that you guys all probably
Yes.
know. We sword fought together. That's how I actually met him in sword fight class. Erica Ishii,
Yes.
I was her choreographer in Labyrinth of Jared. That's how we met. So I got to teach her how to dance on the
Yeah.
stage.
I've seen some of those photos. I wish I had them to like add to it, but like I've
Yeah,
seen those like group photos and everything, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like the circle is like smaller than
it
you
is.
realize.
It is.
Because
And
now
even
I'm
like,
actually a part of Labyrinth of Jarrett because
yeah,
I saw you performing along with the others, and I was attending, but I just loved the passion and just like you guys were just putting it all on the stage, and it was just so beautifully done. And
yeah,
mind you, like for those who haven't attended, I mean, it literally, I tell people, it literally is magical. Like it almost feels like you're not in LA, like you've entered this fantasy realm, and all of the performers are phenomenal, and especially you dancers were like, I was just mesmerized, and I was like, oh, one day I'll do it, and then I recently got involved, but you were one of the people who stood out for
thank
sure for
you.
me, because also too being a fellow Latina, like it's like seeing your own on the stage, and you're like,
Yeah. Oh, you're so sweet. Oh, Labyrinth was such a good time in my life. It was so much fun to choreograph and bring ideas to life through movement. It was the one thing I
yeah,
wanted to do out of college. Yeah. So Labyrinth is it's fun. I played a very fierce warrior character
heck
named
yeah,
Visidi. She was a piece of my life that I've now like shelved, and I'm like, I'm proud of her. She was good. She served what I needed her to serve for that time.
Always
Um,
legendary. We will always remember the iconic.
yeah.
Yes, it was always the finger. I'm like, I don't have that finger movement that you have, but it's like there's something when it's like you it's like from literally like fingertips to toes. That's what we call it. Like when dance, like if
Yep.
you dance from like top of head,
Yep, all the
fingertips
way
to
down.
toes.
All the way
Yes.
down. You gotta feel it, which actually serves a lot of or informs a lot of the movement that I do on Vampire on New York and
Mm-hmm.
LA by Night. I use a lot of my physical abilities to kind of emote
Mm-hmm.
because I am not an actor. I think every interview I always talk about this. I am not an actor. I'm not an actor. I'm not an actor. I did not get my degree in acting. I got my degree in dance and choreography. So I emote physically.
That's your way of like embodying the character. But I feel like
Yes.
we all bring like that's whatever you connect with, and for you it's movement.
Yeah.
It's all of that. But I again, even though you aren't an actor, I still we still all consider you an actor nonetheless because in the end it's just like a lot of people have become really attached to the different characters you play because of the passion behind it, and you bring them to
Yeah.
life so beautifully.
Yeah.
Now we talked a little bit about like we kind of touched on it as far as being a Latin in the space, and I feel like you definitely have been an inspiration for a lot of Latins, a lot of Latinos in the space. Not only just TTRPGs, but just performing arts. And I know that for you, you've talked about it, and you're very proud. You're like, I'm Puerto Rican, yeah. Like, hey, don't forget, these are my roots. But can you kind of talk about how important that has been
Yeah.
on your journey as far as just like inclusion and diversity in the space? I'm sure a lot has changed, and probably there's still some room for growth. But
Yeah.
as far as just that experience in the performing arts and TTRPGs, if you want
Yeah.
to touch on that as well.
Sure. Yeah. So I have been doing LA by Night for about a year and a half, and I was obviously enjoying myself. I was going to a bunch of different things. And I started seeing cultural panels start to pop up, and I was like, "Oh,
Hmm.
that's really cool." And I was looking at it, and every time I looked at the panel, there was never a Hispanic person on there, and I was like, "Do they not know we here? Like, what's huh. So I pulled one of the producers aside at one point and I was like, hey, yo, like, if you guys need someone who's Hispanic, like, I would love to be
Yeah.
a part of the show. And the person goes, oh, hey, yeah, we'd even think about you. And I was like,
Oof.
okay.
Big oof.
And they were like, oh, but do you speak Spanish? I was like, no, no, but I didn't know that that was a prerequisite for being Latin. Thanks. Um, and I started to realize if I was going to be in this space, I had to be loud about who I was. I couldn't just be quiet because
Yeah.
growing up being Puerto Rican, a lot of what I had learned was to blend.
Hmm.
Don't speak Spanish. Don't
Yeah.
don't give yourself up. For whatever reason, that was what I was taught when I was younger.
Yeah.
Obviously, things have changed. Times has
For sure.
changed. And I understand where my place is here in the society is to be loud. Like I love Jennifer Lopez, and a lot of what she says is let's get loud. Like she has an entire song, let's get loud.
Yes. On
And there's
on
a
the sixth.
reason.
On the sixth.
And but there's a reason for that
I love
because
that album.
Latins tend to kind of stay to the background, stay
Hmm.
quiet. We were told that like, hey, you're just here, like don't exist, like you know what I mean, like just kind of blend. But
Hmm.
that's not what like if we keep blending, we get left out of the conversation. That's not right.
Or
So
like the
let's get
stereotypes
loud.
of like being like the workers, the ones who are just
Yeah.
kind of like serving and like behind the scenes and not really in the forefront too, I
Yep.
feel.
Yep. So I knew that I wanted to be loud about who I was, and
Yeah.
part of that is being Puerto Rican. And then I started realizing like a lot of the struggles came. Well, you're not really fully Puerto Rican. You don't speak Spanish. You're not from New
Hmm.
York. You're not from Puerto Rico. You
I
didn't learn
understand
about
that.
anything about
Yeah.
yourself. Like you're just some like girl who's like whitewashed in the suburbs.
Yep.
That was kind of what's going on in my head, and
For
I was like,
sure.
okay, I was like, you're none of that. Like, no. And I started doing research about my culture, my people, the island. Like I'd only been to Puerto Rico once
Hmm.
in college to go visit my grandfather before he passed away. And it was beautiful. I freaking loved being there. And it was the
That's
first time that I
awesome.
walked to a place or walked off of an airplane and everybody looked like me. And I was like, whoa,
You're like, what?
what? There's people with like lighter skin and curly hair and freckles and red
Yeah,
hair and darker skin and
yeah.
all over the
And
place. I was
it blows my mind because people forget that us brown folks, we come in different shades, people. It's not just like
yeah.
one, like, one size fits all, like one skin color fits all. No, we're all shades.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And grew up in California, like people recognize that I was Hispanic, but like people don't realize that there were multiple different types of Hispanic.
That is
So
true.
I
Yeah.
was constantly being called Mexican. And then
Hmm.
like for a very long time I resented it. I was like, I'm not Mexican. I'm Puerto Rican, you guys. Like like
And it's not
what
like
is
to
going
bash
on?
that. It's just like because
Yeah.
it's like no, that like this is
Yeah. This is
that's one. Yes,
right.
but that's not me.
So it was frustrating growing up with all of these different things kind of being imposed on me. And so kind of now I'm living my life of I'm Puerto Rican. Yes, I don't speak Spanish,
Hmm.
and that's
And that's
okay.
okay.
I try really hard to. It's
Hmm.
just it doesn't come easily. I speak better French than I do
Yeah.
Spanish because of ballet class.
Yeah, we talked
Um,
about this and how that was a big thing for me, especially being someone who is multiracial. It's that kind of like you have to pick one. So
yeah,
I grew up in predominantly like African American community, and that is part of who I am. That's my part of my heritage as well. But it's almost like you had like you're like, well, but then it was like some people were like, wait, no, but you're one of us. You're Mexican. I'm like, yes, but like you should speak Spanish. You should know. I'm like, no, but like I'm raised by my mom and she's
yeah,
African American. So it's like it's always gets like really confusing because it's like you kind of like people expect you to just fit into their mold. But it's
yep,
like no, I embrace everything that I am, especially like also to me like I talked about with even the native side of things, and that's the thing is that a lot of Latins are part native too, and so that's still a part of our culture,
yeah,
and that still count. Like it's not like we don't count. We still are a part of that. There's different tribes depending on where you were from.
yep,
Those little
yep.
details.
And since we're a little bit away from Indigenous Day or Columbus Day, I'd like to bring up that my tribe, the Taino people or the Arawak, we were one of the first that Columbus kind of decimated. So here we are. Like we all do come from different indigenous
We do.
tribes. Some may not exist as much as others.
Yes.
Taino is coming back. Like there's a whole tribe in Puerto Rico that exists.
Mm-hmm.
They are rewriting the language. In fact, some of the words that you guys already say now are from the Taino folk, which is really cool, like canoe and barbecue. Those are from the Taino. Um, yeah, I've been learning so much about my culture,
I
and
love it.
thank God for social media right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have my love hate relationship with social media, but
I know.
the good the good
Yes.
part about it, the great part about it is the fact that I get to connect with people from the island and I get to hear firsthand of what is kind of going on through the lens of these influencers.
Yeah.
So it's been very eye-opening. Specifically, I follow oh god, I'll have to pull up her name. But she identifies as Taino.
Yeah.
She lives on Puerto Rico. She lives on the reservation with the Tainos, so she talks a lot about what's going on over
That's
there and
amazing.
who's being
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah. I have a friend who just moved to Puerto Rico and she decided to go back to school so she could start working on cultural history and start bringing that back. So
I
that
love
was really
that.
cool to like follow my friend. There's another guy that I follow. His name is Dean Huese. I can't pronounce his last name right now. I don't care. Like, it's not in my head. But Dean something. He is also in Puerto Rico, and he was giving like basic live feeds of when the hurricane was going on. So I was able to like watch
Yeah.
what was happening and making sure that the island was somewhat okay, which is
Yeah.
not. But
Yeah.
here we are.
But I do love that
Um,
you had it was the Changeling campaign that was raising money for Puerto Rico, and
yeah,
that's the really cool thing is that I've seen you get involved in these different charity streams that are making a difference. So it's like not only are you letting your voice, be loud and proud, but also too giving back through your art, which is
thank
amazing.
you. Yeah, trying real hard. I like so the charity that we did was for Mi Patria. It was very important to me that we didn't pick this like big fluff charity.
Hmm.
That I wanted the money to go directly to like a charity that I knew that were boots on the floor or boots on
Yeah.
the island, like really helping out Mi Patria. Um, they worked, so from Hurricane Maria, they were a charity that took the money and rebuilt other people's houses. Like through Dean's channel, I actually watched them rebuild this woman's house from scratch because like it was decimated by Hurricane Maria. And then here comes the new hurricane. If it was a hurricane, Ian,
Yeah,
no,
Ian, I'm pretty
is it
sure,
Ian?
if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I was like, hey, there were so many hurricanes that happened
If
all
we're
at the
wrong,
one
chat,
time.
sorry
Yeah.
about that, but I'm pretty sure it was Ian. I think so.
Correct us if not in chat, like you guys can find it real quick. Anyway, so they kind of redirected and turned their charity into disaster relief, so just making sure that everybody was okay. So that's why it was important for me that they got the money directly so they could start helping the people on the island like immediately.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's really cool. That's something too, because of the fact that you were actually running that. That's now a newer thing because you've been player, but now you're taking a step. It is
Yeah,
a DMGM. How has
yeah.
that transition been?
It's terrifying. So I've
You're
been
so
running.
brave. Like, I listen, I applaud all of you, and I know there are quite a few GMs, DMs in chat right now. So all of you guys, including our guest, bravo. I am so chicken.
I've been chicken for a long time, and I'm not gonna lie. When I got off of playing, or not playing, doing running changeling, I messaged every single like storyteller GM person that are my friends, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't know how you guys do this. You're all amazing. Like, I take my hat off to you guys. Holy crap. I can't, I don't know if I could ever do this again. Like, I just, like, it was a lot. I love running it in private. And the reason why I like
Yeah.
running it in private, because it gives me the time or the flexibility to be able to open a book and be like, okay, what is the rule? What is going on here? How can I fix this? Because I'm a new GM.
Yeah.
So running it on stream, there's a certain amount of pressure of like, you got to keep the scenes
The momentum.
moving.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, the rules is what got me. Like, even as a player, I run fast and loose with rules, because
Yeah.
like it's always about what the GM says, right? So like I know how rules work, but like if the GM says no, that's not how that works, I'm just gonna go with what the GM says. I'm gonna come out live and say this. I've recently been diagnosed with ADHD. And
I know a lot of people can relate.
yeah, I have
You
not
know.
been public about it. I'm probably not going to write too much about it, so you heard it here first. And so the reason why I don't dive myself into rules is because I will get really like rabbit holed into it
Mm-hmm.
and like really really focused. And if somebody tells me it's
Yeah.
wrong, I'm like, no, but I know I'm right. It like, so I
Yeah.
don't I read the rules as much as I need to know to play the game. And so as a GM, I've had to like kind of now go like, okay, well, you kind of have to know the rules now, Cynthia. Like, so I was afraid. Like, I played
Mm-hmm.
Changeling. That was the first tabletop game that I've ever played in my life. I know the rules inside and out. And even still, when I was on it, I was like, I think I know the rule. And then after I turned the camera off, and I was like, I know this. Like,
You got this.
but yeah, no, I take my hat off to all the GMs and storytellers out there. You guys are all incredibly brave souls who do it on stream, because that is
Yes.
difficult as heck.
Especially if you're running your own tech. That's also too a whole nother beast. And Nate says ADHD unite. See, I'm like, you are not alone. That's a big part of it, which actually transitions into the next part of a topic that I wanted to touch on, especially because you're wearing the shirt. I don't know if anyone could see that, anxiety warrior. And you've been very also too not only outspoken about your culture and your love for your culture, but also to the importance of mental health. And I love the fact that you are so open and honest about it, because that can be very scary. You're laying part of yourself out there for other people to judge or to look at. You know, you're keeping yourself open in such a way, but it's so beautiful that you're really open to sharing your journey and your experiences. So I really want you to kind of explain how the hashtag, because I see that a lot in your posts sometimes, the hashtag anxiety warriors, how that came
Yeah.
about and why it means so much to you.
Yeah. So I've suffered anxiety all my life and didn't really like piece it together until being a full adult and in therapy and stuff. But most recently, I think it started kind of cropping up even more when I was starting to do a lot of the live stream shows and getting and feeling pressures about doing certain things and
Mm-hmm.
freaking out about it and keeping it to myself. And then people be like, "Why are you acting weird?" And I'm like, "I'm acting weird. Like I didn't know I was acting weird." Like
Yeah.
like and it all kind of came to a head for me on LA by Night when there were a few times that I was almost unable to go on camera. I
Oh
was
wow.
in the stalls on my hands and knees dry heaving. It was absolutely horrifying for
I
me.
would never have guessed at
Yeah.
all.
I've been a performer all my life. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is what I do, and the fact that I couldn't like get myself moving was really difficult. And I will say that the production family of LA by Night and my cast and crewmates were like some of the best people ever to work with me. They were totally like anything that you need, like let's make you feel comfortable. Like even Jason and I worked out a symbol. You actually saw me do this.
Yeah.
That's a symbol for going invisible in LARP. And he was like, "This is your symbol. If you need to bow out, like just throw it up. We'll move. Like it's all good."
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason why I wore glasses as an Ellie was because when I was having my panic attacks, I wanted to just kind of shut everything out.
Yeah.
So I put the glasses on so that I didn't like have to even like think or like I could just be there. And then when I finally can muster up enough to say something, I would say something. So I knew that it was important to me to seek help, and I did.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in therapy for a good part of 7 years now. Very happy with my journey. It's still a long journey, and I'm still
Mm-hmm.
moving through it. But there were times where my depression and my anxiety kind of like really got the better part of me, and when I try to like kind of talk about it, as a Latin woman, Latinos
Yes.
don't really understand mental health too much.
Yeah.
So when I tried to explain it to my family, there were different things of like, oh, just get over it. Oh, it's just in your head, or like
Yeah.
different. It
It's
took
not
it
that
took
big of
my
a
fam
deal, that kind of
right.
thing. Yeah.
So it took my family a really long time to understand. It's not that they didn't support me; they really
Right.
did. It's just they didn't have the words or the
Mm-hmm.
tools to be able to actively help me outside of just get over it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Or like push
So
through, kind of being strong. But
yeah.
mm-hmm.
So for a little while there, I had to be my own cheerleader, and the way I
Yeah.
found being my own cheerleader was throwing stuff on social media. So a lot of my tweets about anxiety in the very beginning were actually love letters to me, to
Love
remind
that.
myself of the different things that I
Mm-hmm.
needed to focus on. And lo and behold, I had no idea that other people needed that too.
Yeah. Yeah. You never
um,
know. You
yeah.
never know.
So I also realized that I didn't want to put anything out there that was depressing in any
Mm-hmm.
way. I wanted to show that I was pushing through
Yeah.
those emotions. So I always try to put something encouraging, and it's okay to have the emotion, but also
Yeah.
know that you need to push through it too a little bit to go seek the help that you need. Whether it be in a friend or a therapist or the medication that you take, like whatever it is, I always wanted to give a positive message. And so it just kind of dawned on me. I didn't want to just be a sufferer of anxiety or
Yeah.
mental health. I wanted to power through. I wanted to be a warrior of
Yeah.
it. Like I wanted to conquer this because I'm like, a fighty
Yeah.
type person. And luckily, I mean, I'm not going to take credit for the hashtag. I just happened to click type hashtag anxiety warriors, and there was like a whole bunch of posts about
Mhm.
anxiety warriors. So I followed that, and I was like, yo, there's like active other people who are like me. This is great. So I just kind of wanted to band people together, like where we just because we suffer from this doesn't mean that we have it's our ball and chain. We can fight it and we can conquer it.
Yes.
So we're warriors.
I love that. I love that, and it's so important for people to know. Again, going back to it, not feeling alone, because a lot of times I see a lot of people feeling saying that they feel alone or that no one understands them, and sometimes just that you scrolling. And especially because a lot of people do the doom scroll, just doom scroll, toxic, toxic,
Yeah.
and it's hard to kind of like you go down that horrible rabbit hole. But seeing that one message that clicks with you, that can change
Yeah.
everything, that like
Yeah.
literally the course of your day sometimes, and that you do that for people, which is amazing. I see Daniel in the chat, DMC Lieberman, Cynthia's honesty, openness, and bravery with anxiety warriors is truly extraordinary, and I know I truly appreciate it. Those of us who struggle with anxiety and depression, And I know Cold Spider said that they also too struggle with that, but it's scary to discuss mental health with people. So kudos to you opening up, and that's so true. There's a lot of people commenting how therapy has really helped them, and I feel like there's now less of a stigma. Like it's still there's still that stigma, especially I feel like as people of color, because we have had to grit and bear things. But it's now you see it with like even celebrities like Taraji P Henson and other people are saying it's okay to seek help when needed.
Yep.
Don't feel ashamed or like you're weaker or less than. And so again, we need people like you in the space to continue to remind people like me and others how it's like that it's okay. It's okay. You could do it.
Yeah. I'm sorry I'm crying. I didn't know.
Oh gosh,
that
I got the
like
first
that.
set of tears, guys. Oh my god.
I didn't know I touched people like that. I just knew that I needed help, and I knew I wanted to help other people.
Yeah. No. Nate also too said mental health is super important. I 100% agree on Cynthia's post. Extremely helpful and deeply appreciated. So you are appreciated. So thank you so much again for being so open, especially even just in our chat. Like it's just beautiful to see, and it's something that's so inspirational, and it motivates so many of us. So really seriously, it's taking that first step. Yes, I agree. Like it's just once you take that first step, I feel like I don't think I ever heard of someone regretting taking that step, especially if they needed to like get that help.
And you unlock so many different things about yourself. Like I never knew I was ADHD. Like it took me like a new therapist that like her and I were talking, and she was like, "Oh yeah, the way your brain like works." She was like, "You're on there," and I was like, "What?" And so now I'm learning about ADHD, and I'm like, "Ah, I didn't know that like I've been suffering from this, and this is like just an actual thing." Yeah.
And I think it's like now just figuring those things out, because it's sometimes you're just like, really, I wish I had known before, but almost sometimes I feel like it's just just a part of your individual journey. Like you may not know until a certain time, but maybe you wouldn't have been in a place to like for it to click or for it to make sense what somebody might have diagnosed or said, and you'd be like, what? No, that's not. And then now it's like an openness of like oh yeah, you know what? You're right.
I clock that.
I see.
I had no idea. Yeah.
Now, we talked about you being our inspiration, but I want to know, who were your inspirations, coming up, people who really made an impact on you, even if it was like fandoms, or like it could totally be like if there were superheroes, because a lot of people talk about too that like there's like when they read comics or other media that certain characters they connected with, that was their inspiration. But whatever it may be, I'm curious, because I mean, obviously you've influenced a lot of people, but I'm curious who influenced you.
Well, my very first hero, my superhero, is my mom. My mom was my biggest inspiration growing up. She was
she's lovely.
a warrior.
I met her. She's beautiful, studied, and so amazing.
And stubborn and bratty. All the things. She's just an incredible woman. Like raising two wonderfully stark women. My sister and me are very opposite, but also very similar. She worked full time. She worked in real estate, so like real estate's a really tough industry to be in. So to watch her raise us, have a husband, work the household, have a full-time job, and still find time to like find love and happiness, like she was my first inspiration. And then obviously, I read a lot of comic books growing up. My dad introduced me. My dad's the reason why I'm a nerd.
Yay, Dad.
My dad's also kind of like my best friend too. Like I work with my dad, so growing
also
up,
lovely
my dad...
and handsome. Like that's just an attractive family. You just come from an attractive, wonderful family.
Thank you. He bought me my first Batman comic. And the Batman comic that I bought, or he bought me, was I will always remember this. It's Poison Ivy standing over Batman. That was the cover of the comic, and I was like, "Who is that?" She looks awesome. And then I realized she's a villain. I was like, "Oh well, crap." Like,
no.
I mean, as an adult, I'm like, okay, well, I can see where the appeal was there. But then I got into Catwoman, and I got into Wonder Woman, and
I wish I had that cosplay of you. You did a beautiful Wonder Woman. it was awesome. It was the Gal Gadot version, if I'm not mistaken. But have you done the other version as well?
I haven't yet because it's really expensive and I don't know how to sew. So anyone who knows how to sew, like
Commission.
help a sister out. Like
Commissions.
yeah. But the Gal Gadot one actually was very close one to my heart because I won't say who said this to me, but I was told that I would never look good as Wonder Woman because Wonder Woman isn't brown. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Pushing up the sleeves.
I know.
Full
I
pause.
was like, with all
Excuse
due
me?
respect, with all due respect, she's Greek.
Hmm.
Okay, so when Gal Gadot got the role, and Gal Gadot and I are very similar in complexion and
Yeah.
features, I was just like, motherfucker.
In your face.
Yeah, so I had to wear that costume, and
Yeah.
it's not my costume. Somebody actually reached out to play Wonder Woman for a masquerade,
Okay.
San Diego Masquerade
Yes.
ball.
Yes.
Yeah. I've never done it. I'd gone so many years, almost 10 years, and I think on my 10th year somebody finally asked me to like be a part of the group, and they made the costume for me and everything. I just had to show up.
I love that. Yeah, that was I did the same thing when I did Fifth Element, and when we competed in the WonderCon masquerade, and I was like, I will perform the crap out of this. If you make it, I'll rock it.
Mm-hmm. So the only thing that I didn't like is that they forced me to wear a wig, and I was like,
Your hair is literally very close.
Okay.
Like, just add some curl. There you go.
But it was the coolest moment because it was I have the video. It's a crap video too. That's why I didn't want to like send it to you. I'll send it to you later.
Okay.
But basically, it's like the boys fighting. So it's like Batman and Superman try to fight, and then they start playing the Amazon theme, the da 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 da
Yeah.
da da, and I walk out with the shield and the sword, and I just kind of like put my arms out, and everybody just like starts screaming, and I start like just wailing on the boys, like. Oh, it was so much fun. We didn't win. Yeah, we didn't win, but oh man, it felt so good walking on the stage with that costume. So, but the costume was full leather, full corset, full metal. So a lot of cosplayers, what I've heard from the Wonder Woman side is a lot of women don't wear the full like metal.
No,
yeah,
not usually, no.
So it was a very heavy costume. The costume was, I believe, when they shipped it to me, it was about 18 pounds.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So when I was wearing it, I was just like, you can't see it right now because I'm flexing my traps, but like, kadoosh. Like I was like, like
it's like that was a workout in itself. So if anyone in chat is unaware, like if you have not taken that step yet, which I hope you do, to cosplay, what Cynthia just described is like it's actually pretty when you have something like that on you. It actually. Trust me, it's
and when you're wearing it for 12 hours because you're walking around like the convention center,
and
blah,
it's
blah,
huge.
Blah. Like,
San Diego is huge. If no one has been, look at how big it is. Look at that map. I'm telling you, that's a workout.
I think I lasted in the costume when I started walking around the convention because you can't wear when you're in the masquerade ball. You can't wear it until after the show, so you get to see all the masquerade costumes come out on Sunday. So I wore it on Sunday. So I was already done or tired with con, right? But I was like, I gotta wear this. Like I just need to walk around in the con. So I think I walked a total of 8 hours. I actually that was the first time I met you, Brie.
Yes,
we were taking pictures together.
So the funny thing was that I was so out of it. We had partied the night before, as one does at San Diego Comic-Con, and I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it. I was definitely hungover. You had waved and said hello. And I was like late and like my partner was like, Cynthia just said hi. And I'm like, huh? And so it probably looked like I was like totally like just ignoring you when I literally was like, I need water.
no, because like in the same token, I was already like, because as Wonder Woman, I have to constantly flex my muscle. At least that's how I feel. You got to constantly be like, So
but I do remember seeing you like go away, and I was like, oh, you look awesome. Oh, she's gone. She's gone. She looks beautiful.
try to hurry up and take those pictures and like
And
be
get out.
done, like
And it's
walk the
hot.
con.
It's hot
It was
too.
hot, it was sweltering, and then getting onto the con floor, like it's a constantly like, hey, can I take your picture? So you're like, okay.
Yeah, because you don't want to say no, and then you're just
Yeah.
two steps.
And so I will never forget this. My partner that was with at the time, I hit there's the wall that you hit inside like cosplay that you're just like, I'm done. I'm ripping the wig off. I'm ripping off, in my case, the corset. I'm done. Like, so I told him, I was like, hey, I'm hitting that capacity right now. Can we like start going? And he goes, yeah, let's go. So we're walking and we're on the far side of the con, and we had to get all the way to the Hyatt. I wanted to die. Anyways, so at some point they kept stopping me and stopping me and stopping me, and finally I was like, I have to go, and I like start like sprinting as like Wonder Woman out of there, and he's like, I'm sorry, she's been in a corset all day, and he like walks with me. Yeah, so
it probably looked epic though. It's just like the music is just like playing in everyone's brain.
So tired that day, but I got to wear it again for a Christmas charity event, so that was also kind of fun and cool. So
I love that. That's always a lot of fun, getting to dress up, especially for like I got a chance to do one for a hospital, and that was really awesome to be there for the kids when you get a chance to do stuff like that. Now, because of the fact that it is New York by night, that's I think.
Night.
I'm like, I don't know what the official, like, I know that there's like some type of little blurb that usually is put at the end of things to let you know that it's vampire time. But after you guys, after you watch GM Raven, who's in the chat, after you watch High Riders, the Cyberpunk game, with that amazing squad, you guys get a chance to catch her afterwards, because it literally comes on after the game. You get to catch her in New York by Night, the World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade series. So how has that been as far as taking on, because a lot of people remember your iconic Nelly for LA by Night, but like that whole like transformation to Coco has been amazing. So how has that been so far? I know that we can't reveal everything because obviously it's still ongoing, but just doing that transition to your La Sombra.
Oh man, well, La Sombra, as you guys already know, was already part of my blood, so that was a given when I was asked to come back on the show to play a character. I was like, can I play La Sombra? And Jason was like, you know, it's gonna be really hard, right? And I was like, yep, that's fine. I'm here for it. And I won't reveal why unless you've already read the source books. You probably know why it's hard for La Sombra to be in the cam. But if you don't, I'm not going to spoil it. You can watch. So the transition was easy in the sense that I already knew the clan. I really loved the clan. What was difficult was trying to portray a character that is different from Nelly, since Nelly was very, very much me. She was very me. So I had to tap into those darker sides of me, and what you guys are probably seeing is my business acumen, or as people are calling the calculated moves. Like, it's kind of how I operate. Tapped into my ADHD brain of like calculating everything and being like, okay, this is a lesser risk, this is how I mitigate this is how I can negotiate here, like this is so a lot of like how I operate on the inside was what you guys are kind of seeing Coco now like fully realized. So yeah, it was a good time. We shot it a while ago, so it's wild to rehash it, like remember what happened. Like there are episodes, like actually I asked Bree this morning, I was like, so what happened on that episode? I don't remember that.
I'm like, I feel so proud of myself. I'm caught up now, and I'm like, I am so excited for tonight's episode after the Cyberpunk game, and I'm like, man, this is gonna be so cool to see what happens next. And there's a special guest too.
And
who's
he guesses?
that voice?
Any guesses?
Any guesses? Okay, we got Kralis, who said, I'm loving Coco. Nate says La Sombra are the best, with one heck of a clan bane. Filmed back in March. Yeah, it was filmed back in March.
It was filmed a while ago, yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, May. It was more like May-ish because my sister graduated. Oh my, so this is the wild story. So we film in about a week's chunk of time. Or sometimes 2 weeks. But they're pretty like so what was wild was we filmed 2 episodes, and then my sister graduated from college the next day, and my parents are like, hey, she's graduating in Phoenix, Arizona, we're gonna take a flight. And so I didn't even think about what was going
Mhm.
on. I was like, yeah, whatever, okay, like whatever you guys do, yeah, I'll be at the graduation. And then it was like a week before filming, and my parents are like, so here's all the flight information, the flight's at 4 o'clock in the morning, we're picking you up. And I was like, I'm shooting the night before. Yeah, y'all, I went to
Oh
bed,
my goodness.
woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning because the flight was at 7. I had to be in full makeup because of my sister's graduation, right? Like there was nothing. I had to get in a full suit, high heels, had my backpack at 3 o'clock in the morning, get in the car with my parents, get on a flight at 7, fly to Phoenix, Arizona. My sister graduates. We fly back. We have a party. We go to bed, and I went back to filming. Like it was crazy.
That was commitment for the sister, the love. I'm sure she appreciated it. And if
Oh
not,
yeah.
sis, if you're watching, you better thank her for that. That's love. That's a labor of love if I've ever heard it, because it's like, oh, sleep.
Yeah,
Ah,
that
the
she's my best
struggle.
friend. I would do anything. I'd fly to the ends of the earth or fly to Phoenix for her, you know.
I love that. I oh man, I could talk to you for another like 3 hours, but we don't have that much time, sadly. But we'll have to have you back on again, of course.
Heck yeah.
But also too, I want to mention briefly before we do end up wrapping this up, the fact that you are in one of our Cybernation Uncensored campaigns, Mass. So you want to kind of briefly just tell them a little bit about that, just so they know your character and when that takes place, so they know what to tune in for that.
Oh no, I forgot my character's name already. Hang on a second. We
Something with
just
an
did our
F.
session 0. Flux. Thank you. I'll tell you, my brain is all over the place. Yeah, so in Masks, we just did our session 0, which was absolutely incredible and so much fun. I had no idea the putting together the character concepts together was so collaborative. I'm used to that with Vampire,
Mhm.
so it was great to see that in another game set. So yeah, I'm playing Flux. She is a character very similar to my one of my favorite Marvel characters, Polaris.
Yeah.
She's kind of the on lock type person because if her emotions get too much, everything else goes kind of like crazy
Mhm.
around her because she can what is she? She controls magnetism. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I'm
So
excited
good.
to play. Yeah,
Such a
Flux is
good
really
group.
cool.
And that's
Yeah,
like what, second Tuesday of
of
each
every
month.
month. Yeah.
Yes. And at 5 p.m., 4 p.m.,
Yes, at 5 p.m. I wouldn't
5
be able to
p.m.
make 4 because
Yes.
of work. Yeah,
Now we're gonna
definitely
end on
5.
this note officially, but because I have to, like I always do this with. So far, this is gonna become a trend. We're gonna
A
be
thing.
trying to
Okay.
a thing with all of our guests.
Okay.
The best piece of advice that you've received.
Whew. Best piece of advice that I've ever received. Um, Always be yourself and don't let anyone take that away from you.
Snaps on that. I love that. Thank you so much,
No
seriously, for
problem.
taking the time out of your day to sit down with us and just bless us with this wonderful conversation. I really appreciate it, and
Thank you for
this was so
having
much
me.
fun.
Yeah.
Please let everyone know where they can find you, and of course, the awesome projects that you're a part of that we can
Yeah.
look out for.
Absolutely. So you guys can find me on Twitter at Syndancer or Instagram Cynthia__Marie. You can see all the visual stuff on the Instagrams, and you can see all of my Anxiety Warrior stuff on Tweeters. I recently just finished filming Regency Call of Cthulhu. So that'll be coming out with the new source material. I believe that is the 27th of October. So stay tuned because it's an incredible cast, and I'm not gonna say, but I'm gonna say it was a twist, y'all. Like,
Spicy.
otherwise, you can see me on New York by Night. That's on the World of Darkness channel. You can see me right here on Cybernation Uncensored, where I play on Masks. I also do a lot of one shot, and I get popped up everywhere once in a while because somebody needs an NPC or villain. Either way, I'm here to play, and very excited to do that. So thank you for having me, Bree.
Yes, of course.
I adore you.
I
I'm
love
so happy to be
you,
here.
and I'm so
I love
happy that we
you.
got a chance to talk. And
Yeah.
this was so much fun. And
Yeah.
just a reminder, folks, if you aren't already following us, be sure to follow and join our Discord there. I'm putting up our social links if you're not already following all of our different various pages, so that way you can see these awesome shows, including The Mask, and also too, be sure to tune in tonight. We have the Cyberpunk High Riders game at 5 p.m. Pacific time, folks. You don't want to miss it. It's their next session. I'm super excited. GM Raven has an amazing group, and I am so excited for what's to come. It's going to be so good. And then, of course, afterwards, be sure to check out the over on World of Darkness channel, New York by Night, after the High Riders, to see Cynthia Marie as Coco. And again, I want to say this, emphasize all of the heritage months are always too short. So we're going to continue to celebrate them. And guess what? Filipino and Hispanic Heritage Month are literally around the same time. So we're just going to say happy Filipino and Hispanic Heritage Month, you guys, still. But thank you guys so much in chat. You guys were amazing. And I love the energy. So thank you so much for being here and supporting and showing love to our beautiful guest, Cynthia Marie, and supporting Power Word Talk. And until next time, guys. Next week, Thursday. Stay tuned. Bye, guys. Have a good day.
Bye.
Cybernation Uncensored.